Have you had the audacity to awaken in a world that wants you dumb and distracted? Surely you haven't. Surely you haven't seen through the matrix, the simulacrum. Surely you haven't realized that there's a cohesive plan to keep you dumb, individualized, materialized, caught up in their crazy games. And if you didn't realize it yet, surely the coronation of King Charles, and I will not... look, I've got no disrespect to the other one, the lady one he's marrying, but Diana... Let me know in the chat in the comments how you feel about that. We will be, for the first 20 minutes, available on Twitter, YouTube, all those places. Then, exclusively on Rumble, there's a link in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. I'll be talking to Barry Weiss, and I'll be asking her what exactly she was told by the creator of the ChatGPT, but the Google version of it, AI. What exactly is it going to do to us? Plus, if that doesn't make you want to click over to a free speech platform, we're also going to be looking at new potential side effects of a certain medication that was very popular a while back, but increasingly people are starting to think wasn't as good as they thought it was then. Bit like...
Sorry, I can't hear you. What did you say?
And when you discover what it is, that joke will make sense. But, you know, that'll be good.
Payoff.
Then.
20 minutes down the line.
You're going to get payoff. 20 minutes. Remember what Gareth did then, and they go, it'll all make sense. Okay, so let's have a look at the godfather of AI quits. I don't think from being a godfather he's still available to attend baptisms. The man touted as the godfather of AI has quit Google, citing concerns over the possibility for AI to upend the job market. Is that what he's worried about? Dr. Jeffrey Hinton said he quit to speak freely about the dangers of AI, and we'll be asking Barry Weiss a little later exactly what he said that is so dangerous. He was brought on by Google a decade ago to help develop the company's AI technology. Let's see how the mainstream media cover this thing.
This morning, as companies race to integrate artificial intelligence into our everyday lives, one man behind that technology has resigned from Google after more than a decade. Dr. Jeffrey Hinton, known as the godfather of artificial intelligence, says he
want to personify it.
Right.
Don't give it a godparent.
No.
Like in the event that its actual parent dies.
Do you think that he wanted that label? Or do you think it's... Like, how many people do it? Like, do they approach him at Google and go, Godfather, hello? Like, I don't think he wants it. He's quit his job.
You come to me on my calculator's wedding day and you do not offer respect and you don't think to call me Godfather. Yeah, I don't know if it's... A lot of nicknames. People work hard for a nickname, don't they? A lot of people you can tell really want a nickname to stick.
They do, yeah.
I wonder if old Jeffrey Hinton likes being called Godfather. It's difficult to know. Look, really what interests me is... look, let's not pretend that a king isn't going to get a shiny new hat this weekend. Here we are worrying about AI.
Well, it's a bit worrying. I mean, Elon Musk is worrying about it as well.
Elon Musk is a bag of nerves.
Right, okay.
He's always worrying about something.
Something he's worried about.
He gets jittery, doesn't he? Oh, no, this Twitter, that's not very well run. I'm about to sack half the people that work here.
80%.
80%, right. You're not going to use your job. You're not going to use it. You are going to use, you are, you know. Yeah, it turns out that they had too many people work there. He said that once you stop censoring everything, there's a lot less to do. Yeah. That's basically what we said. 80% of them were sort of carrying the message and doing censorship.
Getting thoughts of 80%.
80%, eh? Maybe I could do me, a cuddly German shepherd, dear old loyal Dan with his bizarre angles. But no, if you have a look at that gallery there, that's a neat, lean, sparse team. If you defrost that window, have a look. You couldn't do without... They're a lovely little bunch. We're a bit lean and light today. Often we are on Friday's show because we want to be able to focus on Barry Weiss. We want to be able to focus on the coronation. What's funny when they talk about the coronation, let's have a look at some of the headlines, is they talk as if like there's ways of making it more sensible and practical. Look at this. King Charles to do away with outdated silk stockings and breeches for coronation. One doesn't need all these outdated breeches. A simple coronation, a simple modern coronation for a modern world. The whole idea is you've been anointed by God to be the figurehead of a nation. And all of the, however you shake this down, the wealth of the royal family is accumulated through plunder over centuries.
Yeah, he's not losing those stockings for budgetary reasons, is he?
Let's get rid of these expensive stockings. And we all remember that phone call and some of the things he wished he was, didn't he?
Yeah.
He wanted to be a sanitary product, a pair of pants.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Didn't he? He said he wanted to be all sorts of things.
I knew you'd remember those details.
I think about that sometimes. I tell you what you want to have a look on, and this is something that literally have to be careful about talking about on YouTube, because we're going to be giving you some of the best secrets about the royals and some of the best conspiracies. If you watch that documentary, bizarrely made by Keith Allen, the actor, like, you might not be able to find it on YouTube, you definitely be able to find it on Rumble. If you have a look at Rumble, the one about Diana, what's it called? Unlawful Killing, Diana. Ooh, have a little look at that.
Was it on the telly?
No, mate.
No.
Like, Keith Allen, what's amazing about it is, like, Keith Allen, the actor, Lily Allen's dad, just made it himself.
So what, did you have it on, like, illegal VHS or something?
You know, sometimes when you look at like a Russian version of YouTube and it's all Russian mad letters, you don't know what they are. They're like spaceships and noughts and crosses and things like that. I watched it on...
Nice reductive
you know, Russia.
interpretation of the Russian language.
Spaceships, Pac-Man, a TV aerial one, one that looks like a fish. Like that. That's their culture. What? It's getting to a war with Russia. It's an easy business. Apparently Russia aren't hard anymore. Don't need to worry about provoking Russia.
No.
What are they going to do?
Well,
use their considerable military might to endlessly respond and grind down NATO forces? Well, let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. You can join us on Locals and join the chat. Participate in this stuff with a delightful community, wherever you're from in the world. Certainly don't mean to make a mockery of the set of semaphores that the Russian people use to communicate with.
No, I think anyone would have understood what you meant by that.
Just mucking about.
But anyway, so you found it on, you think, some kind of Russian YouTube website. Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. A lot of stuff went on. Let me know what you think about that. I don't think I would like to get into the potentially murky territory around the sad and tragic death of Diana, but Keith Allen don't mind, so have a look at his documentary.
Wow.
Yeah, it's worth having a look at. I heartily recommend it, even though, don't you remember in the old days you used to just like look at curiosities and things that are a bit peculiar. It's like, you know, it's before you had to have a sort of a banal diet of pre-chewed slop, like some grey ready breck diet, like you're not allowed any spice or flavour. Like, you used to be able to like look at things like, well, I think that's a bit mad. I don't really agree with that. Quite a peculiar and wonderful theory, but I'm not sure that's actually true. Like, let's have a look at some of that evidence. You used to be able to decide for yourself. The whole of censorship is underwritten by the idea that we're too bloody stupid to understand anything, and perhaps to a degree we are, because we're willing to put up with expensive ceremonies to anoint further royalty. Let's face it, the death of Queen Elizabeth II meant that this is time for a radical appraisal and review of whether or not we even need a monarchy. And the answer to that is no, we don't, because what is a monarchy? What does a monarchy do?
Well, you say that, but when you know how much it's going to cost the taxpayer, maybe you'll change your mind. I don't know.
The ceremony itself?
Yeah. 125 million. Is
reasonable.
That now? Right, okay.
What does a World Cup cost? I'd rather they'll play football against each other.
Okay,
Charles. Or Olympics or something.
Charles on a diving board and things.
I'd like to see an event where Charles eats his own perfectly rendered chocolate head. That's what I'd like to see, and we'll be looking at that chocolate head a bit later. Charles and Camilla invited to use Coronation bed the night before ceremony. Unfortunate wording. What other headlines have we got? Because, like, you know, using it sort of suggests that what for copulation. British public support for monarchy at a historic low. So people are actually over it. But you won't hear much talk of that. All of the paraphernalia, pageantry and ceremony is to distract you from the bizarre fact that you're kind of worshipping an ordinary family, other than the fact that they have an extraordinary amount of wealth. Like, they're basically normal, but they've got access to a lot of wealth. Shall we have a look at his chocolate? What are we doing first? His chocolate mad Ed.
23 kilos, 4 weeks to build, and depicts Charles in the ceremonial uniform he's expected to wear on the 6th of May. It's made up of many different chocolates, including Twix, Milky Way, and Galaxy, and the chocolate.
To break down the individual types of chocolate that make up King Charles's head. I mean, in a way, why not this? I mean, the whole thing is a bizarre, surrealist experience anyway.
Yes.
Like, if you took some hallucinogens, and I don't recommend you do, not while we're on YouTube, and obviously I'm in recovery myself, and then watched that ceremony, you would be struck by its absurdity, I think.
Yeah, I guess the thing about symbolism was that it was literally meant to symbolise something that they stood for, and once those values have disappeared, what is this other symbols about? So you might as well have a chocolate Charles rather than all the expensive jewels that you're going to see instead.
And now we bring out the sacred chocolate head. And then Prince William and Prince Harry try to fart its ears off. There they go, the two princes, one either side, straddled. They've taken laxatives so that their rectums gape now. And they harshly blast out arse farts.
Clearly in competition with each other.
Oh, look at that. It's the foulest stench since the marriage to Meghan Markle. It's ridiculous. And look at this in a minute, like these medals. Do you know what these medals individually mean? Because I think there's made out of things like celebrations and heroes
right.
and dissected bounty bars. Have a look at this. It's really stupid.
Master chocolatier who put it all together, Lindsay Clark, is here. Tell me quickly about I love the medals.
Yeah, we've had lots of fun using all the
Because this is actually still news, and along the bottom of the ticker, like all the British nationals are coming out of Sudan, or evacuees and all this stuff, and they're talking about chocolate medals, which sounds like a practice that might take place in certain regions of the big city.
individual celebration chocolates to create the different medals from a cross-section of the bounty.
Let's have a quick look. Can we have a close-up of the medals, and then we can talk about them?
So we start with the
In with their pinkies.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
The most delicate of all the fingers.
Yeah, like it's almost like would it be disrespectful to sort of like
jab it
in its little chocolate chest? I mean, what is happening to our culture? What is happening to our world when you know that we are kind of it's surrounded on all sides by sort of like they could be talking about, for example, the US encircling China and provoking China in a variety of ways, presumably in order to facilitate military-industrial complex hegemony and your taxpayer dollars, if indeed you are American, for many more years of contention and agitation.
Well, they will kind of talk about it, but they'll talk about it as Chinese aggression rather than US aggression.
They'll kind of talk about it while sort of scrutinising the chocolate medals of a confectionery king.
It's funny that it's life-size as well. Like, there's literally no... Unless you are aiming to maybe replace Charles with this, what's the point in doing a life-size? Just do, like, a little chocolate... It's just a token, isn't it? I mean, what's the point of it?
What does this achieve? And we've also got some extraordinary facts about the royal family. Let's have a look at the first one now. Like, look at some of these facts about the reality of the royal family. The British Crown legally owns 6.6 billion acres of land across the world, a sixth of the Earth's surface. So if you took 6 footsteps today, you stood on a bit of King Charles's territory.
I'm not sure it actually works like that, but
One in every 6.
Sure.
British monarchs are worth almost $28 billion.
Yeah.
All of them. The royal family costs UK taxpayers £300 million a year. 22 to 23, a sovereign grant is $86 million, expensive. Sovereign grant doesn't include 24/7, which is also publicly funded. Royal ceremonies are left out of the sovereign grant. It's interesting.
Yeah.
They've got
I did
some
like
power.
that fact about the sovereign grant. So the sovereign grant is what the royal family get from the taxpayer. So it's 86 million a year, but it can exceed 369 million if the palace urgently requires 30 more clocks. Which, you know, obviously sometimes a palace will require 30 more clocks. So that's when it goes up what they need.
Sometimes they need
more clocks.
More clocks.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary. Like, we criticise your political systems pretty much constantly because they are bizarre. It is a corporatised system of government. Ours is obviously ridiculous and corrupt also, but many of our leaders are made of chocolate. The King and Queen's consort will see the biggest military ceremonial operation in 70 years. So it's sort of like a war, and the war is against you. King Charles has got 1.8 billion. I mean, why would you ever listen to a member of the royal family talking about poverty or inequality or really the environment or anything when that kind of imbalance in power is what creates many of the world's problems?
Yeah, I mean, that's the WEF all over. And when he's involved in things like that, you have to question. I mean, that's literally what they do. They're greenwashing themselves or whitewashing or whatever phrase you want to use.
I prefer chocolate washing.
Yes.
They're chocolate washing themselves into a state of adorability, of sugary deliciousness. Let's go back to old Chocolate Charlie and see what else they're saying. Because I'd like to know, these medals that they're recreating in bounty bars and Mars bars and whatnot, I bet they're for like sort of valor.
Exactly.
People like had to give up their lives in needless oil wars in the early 20th
Well, do you think
century.
we should do the medals? Because it seems a little inappropriate. Maybe just the head. No, we'll do the medals too.
I've made him a out of Mars. Let's have a look.
Piece, that's a cross-section of the Bounty. We've got Malteser, Twix.
Let's do it slowly. Maltesers, Twix, Bounty.
A Bounty.
Chocolate.
Galaxy.
Yeah, Galaxy.
A Milky Way.
Milky Way, of course.
And a Snickers, I think, at the end.
Snickers at the end.
That's really, really mundane and banal
really
and
nice.
offensive information.
Milky Way, of course. Yes, of course.
Yes, I recognise that, actually. I could obviously the Bounty, that's plain. Here are some secrets about the royal family. Oh, look, here are there's what the medics they are. Awarded to those who provided outstanding service, most noble order. The Royal Air Force Wings, most ancient and most noble order of the Thistle. But now, in delicious Twix. Really extraordinary way to carry on. Here are some secrets about the royal family. Britain's royals used obscure legal procedures to hide distant relatives' wills. Google that and you'll find some peculiar surnames cropping up. Let me tell you guys, you're going to love it. Prince Philip's sisters were actual Nazis. That's the royal secret number 2. And royal secret number 3 is Queen Elizabeth's cousins were hidden because of their disabilities. So whether it's... There's some unfortunate photographs right there. So whether it's being secretly Nazi, passing laws, costing billions, or hiding people as a result of their mental health, the royal family has got something for everyone.
Yeah.
They're still adored even in the colonies. Have a look at this Australian lady who's filled her whole life with extraordinary paraphernalia that celebrates royalty, and pay particular attention to the overwhelming presence of Lady Diana, who cannot be forgotten. Goodbye, England's Rose.
Jan Hugo's royal memorabilia collection has long been her crowning achievement.
Why are they using like that version of Charles? That comes from a satirical TV show, Spitting Image, who itself took its design from that famous satirist. I can't remember that dude's name anymore. But like that is not a flattering image of Prince Charles. I don't want to see that rendered in chocolate.
But it's about to be topped.
We're heading off to the Coronation over in the UK.
The May 6 engagement locked into the royal superfan's diary the second it was announced.
I heard it at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Diana in the background.
9 o'clock I was on the phone to the travel agent. By lunchtime, had the house...
I suppose what it is about the royals is you've got to carefully control a narrative. You've got to cultivate an idea and an image that makes it acceptable to have something so antiquated and outmoded at the centre of a society to continually distract people that not only that the institution in itself is against your interests because of the concentration of wealth, but what it represents systemically is against your interests. Unequal hierarchical structures. Now remember, I'm not talking about equality of outcomes, because I know you frantic little JP fans are typing away with everything you've got. But what I'm talking about is the kind of inequality that can only occur when you have imperialism, colonialism, and its modern day replacement, globalism. You can't accrue that amount of wealth without piracy, without imperialism, without slavery. So when people are talking about historic reparations, they should start looking at deep entrenched historic power like the British monarchy and other very, very powerful organisations and groups that have accrued comparable amounts of wealth. You can easily find out who they are just at a glance. So what we're all engaged in when we're talking about sort of inequality and various cultural arguments that I believe are significant and important and ought to be resolved through tolerance and love and acceptance of all forms of identification, including traditional ones that often apply to the native populations of Anglophonic countries, for example, is sort of tolerance and love. And as long as you are continuing to advocate for this sort of living Disney world, this Disneyfication of culture, then people can't sort of awaken. And I talk about this as like my family really, like literally my wife loves the royal family. My grandmother, God rest her soul, loved the royal family. You're just sort of used to it. I felt personally sad when the Queen died because of the set of values she represented. Like you said, Gareth, the point of them is to somehow represent, like a flag or a constitution or an altar, a set of values. What seems to be happening over time is the values are getting extracted, but the ability to accrue power and subjugate the majority is remaining.
Yeah. Well, but there's another thing that we were watching earlier about the fact that they're going to still try and use the same chair that almost all the coronations have been done on. And when you see it, it's so knackered and it's again, it's kind of like a symbol of the decay of the institution, isn't it? Like, this shouldn't exist anymore. It should have been, like, when that chair stopped being useful, when people having to use, like, bits of glue to try and make it function, it's like, it's not functioning, is it? It's not working. Although, you can, like, make nice little chocolate bars into King Charles.
Sir, I've just been repairing the chair. Yes. And it occurred to me that we're trying to hold something together that's outmoded and outdated and doesn't work anymore. What is your point? Just maybe I should go back and continue to hold together this chair.
Like, in Charles, King Charles and Joe Biden, in a sense, for all of the talk of progressivism, environmentalism, identity politics, and the necessary conversation to resolve historic exploitation, abuse, and neglect of certain communities exploited for imperialism, colonialism, and different sets of privilege, etc., like, still at the centre of it, what have you got? Like, look at them. What do they represent? What do they mean?
Yeah.
So it just shows you it's theatre. Yeah, I don't think I'm getting knighted. Someone's saying like that. I don't think I'd even get near the OBEs and the MBEs.
No, there was a time, I think, potentially, that you might have got there. But
when I met the Queen.
Yeah, you did the Royal Variety, didn't you?
Yeah, it didn't go well. I mean, like, the show went well. I liked it, doing a show in front of the Queen.
Though, wasn't it?
Hmm?
It was the handshake. That was a bit awkward for you.
You could tell, like, people in that position, whether it's Oprah Winfrey, Tom Cruise, David Beckham, the Queen, they know when you're a troublemaker. They can sort of sense it. Like, they sort of, I've had the same look off all them people. The look of, like, no thanks, mate. Like, sort of, because I can be quite charming. But I'm got something in me that's always like, hey, what's the truth of this, though? Whoa, 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 steady. Like the disruptiveness.
But it's true, isn't it? Like what you were just saying there. I mean, now you've got the kind of updated royals in the form of, I guess, like Will and Kate. But nothing other than the things that they say and the way that they're rendered through the press and that the charities that they belong to and all that, the money never changes, does it? These things of they're worth 28 million and have 6.6 billion acres of land, that never changes from one year to the next, from one coronation to the next.
We're going to modernise. I'm not going to wear my shiny socks.
Oh, you know that 28 billion? How about we build some hostels with that and maybe some grants for small businesses that are affected during the pandemic?
Also, I won't wear the breeches. It's the Queen Camilla. Arise!
Get me on TikTok.
TikTok made of chocolate. Choc, TikTok.
Give us your money. Like, it's like they're never going to change that. And the same, even though we're obviously being frivolous, the same conversation exists in American politics. We're talking about adjustments of cultural language, adjustment in the social dynamics, but no one's like saying, what should we do about the relationship between the government and Wall Street? What should we do about the relationship between Congress and the military-industrial complex? No one's having that conversation.
Yeah.
What they want,
apart from the crazies, Ross.
yeah, nutters out here in the far reaches of Rumble. Oh, what a crazy conspiracy theory. They want you to confine your conversations to cultural and sociological issues within an accepted framework. Like to sort of go, oh, what a progressive monarchy. The king's had his head made out of chocolate and he's not going to wear his breeches. Oh, I didn't think it was possible in my lifetime to not see a king made out of chocolate, not wearing his breeches. God bless you, Mum. Well, come on, guys. I think we can do a little bit better than that. Like, if you were having a sort of a ground floor up review, sort of a page one rewrite, you go, okay, well, surely we should have systems of government that aren't entirely beholden to corporate interests. Surely there's no point in having institutional symbols that embody absolute inequality and corruption and piracy and plunder and slaughter. You could probably jewel by jewel go through the crown that's going to be put on his head and point out a country that's been exploited. Like, that one came out of South Africa. That one came out of India. Sorry about that, mate. Like, the whole bloody thing. You can't get away from it. This is what I find interesting about certain aspects of what is regarded as the culture war. That if you take down statues of, like, say, Edward Colston, who was a slave trader, who was had a statue in Bristol, say, like, it's like, yeah, take down that statue. Now let's start looking at what other emblems of that power. In the end, it runs right through all power, right through, like you know, they started with sort of Confederate generals, didn't they, in the United States? But pretty soon, you're at Washington and Lincoln and Jefferson like, you have to say, okay, all right, this whole thing is founded ultimately. Look, that's not about American ingenuity or British pluck. We all know British people, we all know American people, and see their spirit, whether they're Italian, African, Irish American, don't matter. You see people that have come over with a dream and worked hard and built stuff, and those are the people whose businesses get crushed during the pandemic while wealth gets centralised. And meanwhile, we're caught up in some cultural war claptrap. Not claptrap, I don't mean to be dismissive about permutations of the civil rights movement. What I mean to say is that while we are mired in that, we are unable to make the progress that is necessary and could be facilitated by new alliances and essentially accepting decentralized power as the way forward. Then people with different views can have different systems, like how we are evolved to have.
Yeah. You struggle in our country, though. I mean, like one of the facts that was on those sheets earlier, more than 1,000 laws have been vetted by the Queen or Prince Charles through a secretive procedure. So this is often demanding exclusions for the royal family. So this is systemic. This is ways in which the richest family, in the world, with almost a sixth of the land on the Earth's surface, are literally controlling the laws of the land.
What do you think the secretive procedure is? Do you think it's like when Tony Soprano meets someone down a shoe shop? Do you think they meet in a chocolate factory?
I think it involves those breeches and stockings.
He's going to try on some new breeches down at the chocolate factory. Oh, God, I've got Mars bar up me stockings.
Right, listen, don't do that bloody law there where we have to pay our taxes. That's a bloody disgrace. Don't let ordinary people have a say. Censor people on the internet, for God's sake. That's what it'll be. Should we click over to being exclusively on Rumble now? Because I want